Okay, I just wanted to come back on and continue to talk about the pelvic floor because it is really a big subject and there's so many things. And it was things that I didn't hit on the video, so I'm just kind of doing a part two to that. I kind of had already hit on the urinary dysfunction that we can have, but we can also have a dysfunction in our with our stools. And so women have reported that you can have involuntary stool evacuation. Basically, you just don't know when you have to have a stool. And so, obviously, that's part of you think about it the same way how it worked with your urethra and your bladder. It's hard for you to hold your urine. It can also become difficult for you to hold your stool. And all of that is have to do with our pelvic floor dysfunction. So it's nothing to be embarrassed about. Just seek help and, talk to your doctors about it. Um, Trust me, it's not many things your provider have not heard, even though it's embarrassing for you. It could be, every day or something. I can guarantee you it's something that the provider have seen or heard before. So it's not new information, but I'm not dismissing the fact that it's embarrassing for you because it would be embarrassing for me as well. But the only way you're going to get help is to speak up and advocate for yourself. Something else that goes along with our weakened pelvic floor or pelvic floor dysfunction can be sexual dysfunction. Our pelvic floor helps with our orgasms and our just sex in general. Um, I mean, not all, but it can help with that. And so, if you're finding yourself having some sexual dysfunction, um, then that's also something that you need to speak up and talk about. Because the way God made us, we are sexual beings, and so you know, you shouldn't ignore that. Is what I'm saying, especially if it's something that um, obviously you're wanting to have sex, but you can't because you're having dysfunction. That's a problem. Um, so anyway, and sexual dysfunction can be lack of sensation. That's how it shows up for women. It can be lack of sensation. It can be painful. It can be painful sex. Sex should never be painful. It can be difficulty reaching an orgasm. Even rather is with you know your clitoris being um, massaged or whatever, or vaginally. We are very, very sensitive down there. So when you don't have sensation down there, that's a problem. So, those are things that can also happen with with pelvic floor dysfunction. And so, let's take care of ourselves. As I talked about before, self care is going to doctors, being compliant, and I'm going to say advocating for yourself as well. That's all part of self care. So it's nothing for us to be embarrassed about. Unfortunately or fortunately, however you want to look at it, if we live long enough, it's some things that we can have problems with. Does every woman have this problem? No. There are some women that have no problem at all. They transition beautifully for whatever reason. And then there's most women that have some symptoms. And so let's take care of ourselves. Let's talk about it. Talk about it with our daughters, with our mom. It used to be women were very private about these things. For one, because it might have been embarrassing to them, and two, they just didn't believe in talking about these things. Now, I'm not saying just go out and, you know, just yell it out to the world unless that's what you choose to do, but these are things that we should be talking about. And spreading awareness so that women can know that you're not alone. There's other women that's also dealing with this, and there is help out there. And, if you go to your provider and they're being dismissive about it, then maybe they're not the provider for you. I'm just saying. Even if they can't treat it and not willing to treat it, they should at least be willing to um, refer you to someone that can. And if they're very dismissive and like just deal with it, I'm just saying that wouldn't be someone I would continue to see. It just wouldn't be. I have switched providers because of that. But it wasn't dealing with this. It was just dealing with just my care in general. The person just didn't seem interested in anything. And I switched providers, and I'm glad I did. I made a good choice. So advocate for yourself. Advocate for your mom. If you're because sometimes that generation, there's depending on what generation we're in, but some generation like the baby boomers, they are not as quick to advocate for themselves when it comes to those things. But Generation X, millennials, we can advocate for our parents. So I just kind of wanted to make sure that I hit on that urinary problems is not the only problems that you can have with pelvic floor dysfunction. As I said, you can have problems with involuntarily evacuating stool, and as I talked about, sexual dysfunction. Just think of all the organs that's in the pelvic area: your bladder, your uterus, your rectum. All of that can be affected. So all of those systems. And then again, going all the way up into your core. So our bodies are so unique and so beautifully made, but when they don't function like they should, it can create problems. Okay? God bless. Follow. I'm going to continue to talk about things, guys. Please, please, please share. Invite people. Well, when I say people, invite women. Nothing against men, but I'm talking about women's health and issues that women deal with. So that's my goal, is to have just women in here. If there was a man in here and I noticed it, I did block them, and it's not out of being spiteful or mean. It's just that I want this to be a safe space for women. And like I said before, I'm trying to get my followers up, just so that we have a crowd of people in here before I make it private. But yeah, if you know someone that's going through some of these things that I've talked about, if this is the first video you've seen of mine, go to my page, TLC Dimension of Wellness LLC, and check out some of the other videos. Send it to people, to women. These are things that we need to talk about and we need to take care of so that we can live as much of a well balanced life as we can. Because we know it's not just, especially as a Christian, yes, spiritual is very important. I feel like, but our mental and our physical is also important. So we have to take care of all of that, because which we know, if you're really working on your spiritual, the other things can fall into place, but it's things that we have to do. My thing is, I have two scriptures. The one that says, my people perish for the lack of knowledge. A lot of us don't know, so we don't know what to do and we're not aware of. And faith without works is dead. So we can't believe for a healing, but we're not going to do anything to get that healing. God bless.